The brutal execution of Karl Ernst, Hitler's loyal stormtrooper who knew too much. June 30th, 1934. Stormtrooper Commander Karl Ernst stands at Bremen Harbor, moments away from boarding a ship for his honeymoon with his new bride. Suddenly, SS gunmen surround them, opening fire on their car. The man who terrorized Berlin's streets while hiding his darkest secrets realizes his time has come. Hitler has decided to eliminate his own soldiers, and Ernst, carrying all those dirty secrets, will be the first to pay the price. His SA comrades mockingly called him names that questioned his masculinity. Now he faces a brutal journey back to Berlin, where execution awaits. But why did Hitler betray the man who helped orchestrate violence across Germany? How did a former hotel bellhop command thousands of Nazi stormtroopers? And what led to his desperate final moments before the firing squad? Before we dive into this shocking story, I need your help. We're building something incredible here at Timeless World, and every subscription brings us closer to reaching 1 million people who refuse to forget history's darkest truths. Hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, and drop a comment below. Your support makes these untold stories possible. Germany's collapse after World War I. When World War I ended in 1918, Germany didn't just lose a war, the nation lost its soul. The Treaty of Versailles crushed Germany under impossible war reparations, stripped away territory, and left the population drowning in humiliation and rage. The Weimar Republic emerged from the ashes, promising democracy and stability. Instead, it delivered chaos. Political extremists from both left and right waged street battles. Hyperinflation in 1923 turned life savings into worthless paper. The brief prosperity of the 1920s shattered when the Great Depression hit in 1929. Unemployment skyrocketed. Poverty spread like disease. Into this nightmare stepped Adolf Hitler, promising to make Germany great again. His nationalist rhetoric, combined with vicious antisemitism and promises of order, attracted desperate followers. By 1933, Hitler seized power, and Germany's descent into darkness became irreversible. The SA, Hitler's Army of Terror. The Sturmabteilung, or SA, wasn't just a political organization. It was a machine designed to destroy opposition through systematic violence. Founded in 1920, these Brownshirts served as Hitler's private army, providing security at Nazi rallies and spreading propaganda through aggressive demonstrations. But their most critical function was terror. SA members disrupted rival political meetings with clubs and fists, vandalized opposition offices, beat up political opponents, and used violence to manipulate election results. The organization grew at a staggering pace. When Hitler became chancellor in January 1933, millions of men wore the brown shirt, vastly outnumbering Germany's military, which the Treaty of Versailles restricted to just 100,000 soldiers. This massive paramilitary force gave Hitler something no other politician possessed: the ability to enforce his will through overwhelming violence. Karl Ernst, from bellhop to brutal commander. Karl Ernst's rise within this brutal organization reveals the dark heart of Nazi Germany. Born on September 1st, 1904 in Berlin, Ernst came from humble beginnings. Before joining the Nazi movement, he worked various service industry jobs: commercial clerk, bank clerk, waiter, and hotel bellhop in Berlin, Mainz, and Danzig. He also worked as a bouncer at gay nightclubs, a detail that would later fuel vicious rumors within the SA. After the failed Munich Putsch of 1923 and the Nazi Party ban, Ernst remained active in right-wing anti-democratic organizations. Between 1924 and 1926, he was a member of the Front-Bahn, a front organization of the banned SA. What Ernst lacked in education, he compensated with ruthless loyalty and a willingness to commit violence without hesitation. From 1927 to 1931, Ernst worked for the main SA leadership in Munich. In April 1931, he became an assistant leader for the SA in Berlin and joined the Nazi Party. As an assistant to Berlin SA commander Wolf Heinrich Graf von Helldorf, Ernst helped organize events and demonstrations. For his part in public disturbances in September 1931, Ernst faced charges and was briefly imprisoned. His brutal efficiency earned him rapid promotion. By December 1931, Ernst became an adjutant to the SA group in Berlin as an SA Oberfuhrer. From March 1933, he commanded the entire SA in Berlin, one of the most powerful positions in the organization. Berlin was the prize, the capital where control meant everything. Ernst threw himself into the role with terrifying enthusiasm, orchestrating violence across Berlin. Ernst's tenure as Berlin SA commander was marked by horrific violence.
In one particularly savage assault, approximately 1,000 SA men physically attacked Jews leaving a synagogue and passersby with slogans such as "Jews, die," and "Beat the Jews dead." These attacks weren't random mob violence. They were organized terror campaigns designed to intimidate Germany's Jewish population and demonstrate the consequences of resistance. Ernst was also one of the chief participants in the extrajudicial execution of Albert Oefler, demonstrating his willingness to commit murder for the Nazi cause. The SA's reign of terror extended beyond Jews. Trade unionists, social democrats, communists, intellectuals, and anyone who criticized the regime faced similar violence. Germany transformed from a democracy into a police state, where the rule of law gave way to rule by fear. Comment below more history if you're still with us. Your engagement helps us bring these crucial stories to more people. Rising tensions within the Nazi regime. By 1934, despite their success in terrorizing Germany into submission, the SA faced growing opposition from within the Nazi regime itself. Ernst Röhm, the SA's supreme commander, and his millions of stormtroopers represented both tremendous power and a significant threat to Hitler's consolidation of control. Röhm harbored ambitions that terrified Germany's traditional military leadership. He wanted to transform the SA into the nation's primary military force. The army's generals made their position clear to Hitler: either control the SA or face military intervention. Other Nazi leaders saw opportunity in this conflict. Heinrich Himmler, commander of the SS, and Hermann Göring both despised Röhm and the SA, viewing them as rivals for power and resources within the regime. They began feeding Adler's paranoia, suggesting that the SA planned a coup. Röhm also frustrated Hitler with his radical vision. The SA leader believed in a second revolution that would redistribute wealth and destroy Germany's old elites. Hitler, who had made peace with industrialists and aristocrats to secure power, had no intention of pursuing such policies. This ideological split, combined with personal rivalries and military pressure, created a powder keg. Hitler found himself caught between maintaining loyalty to the stormtroopers who helped him reach power, or consolidating absolute authority by eliminating potential rivals. He chose power. The Night of the Long Knives. June 30th, 1934 marked the beginning of what became known as the Night of the Long Knives. Hitler launched a brutal political purge, ordering the assassination of dozens of SA men, including their leader, Ernst Röhm. This purge demonstrated the Nazi regime's willingness to commit murder as an act of state. SS units and Gestapo agents fanned out across Germany with arrest lists and execution orders. At least 85 people were killed in the purge, though the actual number was likely much higher. The victims included not just SA leadership, but also political opponents and others Hitler considered dangerous. One prominent victim was Erich Klausener,
leader of Catholic Action in Berlin, who had criticized the Nazi government's church policies just a week before the purge. Ernst Röhm was arrested at a Bavarian resort and later executed in Munich. Hitler reportedly offered Röhm the opportunity to commit suicide, but when Röhm refused, SS officers shot him dead. Karl Ernst's fate was equally brutal, but far more dramatic. Ernst's desperate final hours. On June 30, 1934, Karl Ernst was driving to Bremen with his new bride to board a ship for their honeymoon in Madeira. His car was overtaken by Schutzstaffel, SS gunmen, who fired on the vehicle, wounding his wife and chauffeur. Ernst was seized and taken back to Berlin. Unlike Röhm, who had been at a resort and caught completely off guard, Ernst had been trying to distance himself from potential danger by focusing on personal matters. Perhaps he hoped that planning a honeymoon would make him appear less threatening to Hitler's inner circle. The strategy failed spectacularly. The SS had been tracking him, waiting for this exact moment. Despite his years of violence and intimidation, Ernst found himself helpless as stormtroopers he once commanded arrested him on Hitler's orders. From Bremen, SS agents transported Ernst to Berlin under heavy guard. The man who once ruled the capital streets through fear now experienced terror himself. He was executed by firing squad on the evening of June 30. Historical accounts suggest Ernst may have been interrogated or tortured before his execution, though specific details remain unclear, as the Nazis destroyed many records from this period. After hours or possibly days in SS custody, Ernst faced the firing squad. Karl Ernst, age 29, former hotel bellhop turned stormtrooper commander, died in a hail of bullets. His body was disposed of, and the regime quickly erased his existence from official records. The man who helped Hitler terrorize Berlin vanished as if he had never existed. The aftermath: total control. The Night of the Long Knives accomplished multiple goals for Hitler. It neutralized the SA as a potential threat, appeasing the military establishment. It demonstrated Hitler's willingness to kill even his oldest allies, establishing absolute authority within the Nazi Party. And it transferred power from the SA to the SS, giving Heinrich Himmler control over Germany's terror apparatus. On August 1, 1934, one day before President Hindenburg's death,
Hitler's cabinet passed the law concerning the highest state office of the Reich, which stipulated that upon Hindenburg's death, the office of president would be abolished and its powers merged with the chancellor. This constitutional change completed Hitler's transformation into absolute dictator. The German public's reaction to the purge revealed how thoroughly Nazi propaganda had corrupted society. Rather than horror at extrajudicial mass murder, many Germans expressed relief that Hitler had dealt with corruption in the SA. State media portrayed the victims as traitors and deviants who deserved their fate. The event not only solidified Hitler's grasp on the Nazi Party, but also paved the way for further extrajudicial killings by the Nazi regime, the most appalling being the Holocaust itself. Lessons from this dark chapter. Karl Ernst's story is more than just one man's rise and fall. It's a window into how totalitarian movements operate and ultimately devour their own. Ernst represented the true believer who embraced violence not just as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. The SA attracted men like him by the millions, veterans who couldn't adjust to civilian life, unemployed workers seeking purpose, angry young men wanting to belong. But totalitarian movements don't tolerate independent power bases. Once the SA had served its purpose of terrorizing Germany into submission, it became expendable. Hitler didn't need millions of stormtroopers anymore. He needed disciplined soldiers and obedient bureaucrats to execute his plans for conquest and genocide. Several uncomfortable truths emerge from this history. First, loyalty means nothing to tyrants. Ernst devoted his life to Hitler's cause and committed countless acts of violence in the Führer's name. None of that saved him when Hitler decided he was expendable. Authoritarians view supporters as tools, discarded when no longer useful. Second, extremist movements inevitably turn on their own members. The violence that the SA directed outward eventually turned inward. Revolutionary movements that promise to destroy the old order rarely stop with external enemies. Third, enabling evil doesn't protect you from evil. Ernst participated in terrorizing innocent people, believing his status as an insider would keep him safe. Instead, his knowledge of regime crimes made him dangerous. The Nazis couldn't risk him revealing what he knew about various operations. Finally, ordinary people's passive acceptance enables extraordinary evil. The German public watched the SA's violence and the Night of the Long Knives with varying degrees of approval, indifference, or silent disapproval. That collective passivity allowed Hitler to transform Germany into a genocidal state. The question we must answer: was Karl Ernst simply a victim of the regime he helped create, or did he get the fate he deserved for his crimes? The answer is both, and that complexity is important to understand. Ernst participated in violence that destroyed lives and helped establish a genocidal dictatorship. His actions contributed to immense suffering. From that perspective, he bears moral responsibility for Nazi crimes. But Ernst was also ultimately another victim of Hitler's murderous regime. His execution demonstrated that nobody was safe under Nazi rule, not even those who served the movement with fanatical loyalty. This duality doesn't excuse Ernst's crimes. Understanding that he was both perpetrator and victim doesn't require us to forgive his actions. It does require us to recognize how totalitarian systems trap people in cycles of violence that eventually consume everyone involved. Karl Ernst's execution on June 30, 1934, marked the end of one chapter in Nazi Germany's dark history, and the beginning of another. The Night of the Long Knives accomplished Hitler's absolute power and paved the way for the horrors that followed: aggressive expansion, World War, and the Holocaust itself. The 3 million brown-shirted stormtroopers who once controlled Germany's streets faded into memory, replaced by the black-uniformed SS and the cold machinery of genocidal industrial genocide. Before we wrap up, I need to ask for your help. If this video taught you something new or made you think differently about history, show your support. Subscribe to Timeless World, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Together, we're building a community that refuses to forget. So I ask you, what did you find most shocking about Karl Ernst's story? Did you know about the SA before watching this video? How do you think ordinary people get drawn into extremist movements? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed to Timeless World, hit that notification bell, and watch the next video we've recommended for you. The ghosts of history are watching. What will you do with what you've learned today?